Istanbul is a city with an abundant history, full of mysterious places which amazes with its exotic monuments. Get to know Istanbul from its most beautiful side. Istanbul, which is the topic of today, is the largest Turkish city with history that dates 2,700 years back. Besides its size, Istanbul is not only the most populous city of Turkey, but also of the entire Europe. There are countless fun facts about the city, but one greatly stands out: it is the only metropolis in the world that stretches on two continents, Europe and Asia. Istanbul is located in the northwest part of Turkey, and the location itself contributes significantly to the city's uniqueness. Among other things, the city is split by the Bosporus, a strait that also functions as the border between the continents. The part of the city with the most popular historical monuments and business centers is located in the European part, whereas all residential estates are predominant in the Asian part. There are various ways of getting to Istanbul. The city has an airport located 40 kilometers away, from which one can reach the city center by public transport or taxi. An alternative way could be a coach, a train, or a car trip. You don't have to take notes. We have included all the practical info in the description below the video. That's where you can also find links with accommodation, tickets to attractions, and tips on how to pay abroad so as not to overpay on currency conversions. One of the icons of Istanbul that appears on most postcards is Hagia Sophia. It is a building that has been arousing disputes for centuries. It was built in the 6th century as the Church of the Holy Wisdom of God. For over 900 years, it served Christians, while after the conquest of Constantinople, that is Istanbul, by the troops of Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror, it was transformed into a mosque. This state prevailed until 1934, when the temple was secularized and a museum was opened there. In 2020, after the decision of President Erdogan, Hagia Sophia became a mosque again, arousing protests among diplomats and clergy. Istanbul, formerly the capital of the Byzantine Empire, became an arena in which the two dominant religions in the region, Christianity and Islam, clashed. No wonder that both sides tried to overshadow the works of the other side with their power and richness. One of the examples of the insolence of Muslim buildings is the Blue Mosque, built at the beginning of the 17th century. It is the largest and most opulent mosque in the city, the shape of which resembles Hagia Sophia Mosque. The interior is extremely richly decorated with Arabic patterns and texts. The mosque got its name from the color of the plant ornaments. Near the Bosporus Strait, in the European part of Istanbul, a characteristic squat tower overshadows the surrounding buildings. It took its name from the district and fortifications of which it is a part. In its present shape, it was built in the 14th century. However, sources say that a similar tower had stood in this place about 900 years earlier. The tower is over 60 meters high, which makes it a great observation point. Among other things, fires that could devastate the city were looked out for from there. It is currently used as a tourist attraction. A club has been opened there. There is a restaurant, a souvenir shop, and a viewpoint. You want to get to know other interesting places in Istanbul? You will find many more in this video. Keep watching. Another iconic example of Istanbul's Muslim architecture is the tremendous Suleiman Mosque. It was built during the reign of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, whose character is more widely known from the series Magnificent Century. In terms of size, it ranks second in the city, right behind the Blue Mosque. It was also modeled on the shape of Hagia Sophia. The mosque can accommodate 5,000 people. The interior is richly decorated with verses of the Quran and the names of people important to Islam. An interesting element of the mosque is the Roxolana Mausoleum, where Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, Ahmed II and Suleiman II are buried. The tomb of Suleiman the Magnificent's wife, Roxolana, was also placed near the mausoleum. The entire building is extremely richly decorated. Istanbul was not only a city of two great religions. It owes its development, among others, to the efficient trade exchange that took place at numerous markets. One of them is the indoor bazaar, which is the largest market in Istanbul and one of the largest in Turkey. It has an area of 30 hectares, which equals to approximately 42 full-size football fields. Currently, there are stalls with traditional products and souvenirs there. Years ago, spices, jewelry, carpets and other famous goods from the region were traded there. Due to some fires and earthquakes, the bazaar has been rebuilt and enlarged to its present size over the years. There are several hundred ancient cisterns or water tanks near Istanbul. The largest one is the Basilica Cistern. It was built in the 6th century to protect the palace of the Byzantine emperor from being cut off from running water, which could have been caused by, for example, the destruction of the aqueducts or poisoning. The tank operated in this function until 1453, when the Ottoman Turks took the city over. The cistern had been forgotten for about 100 years until it was rediscovered by a Dutch traveller. Currently, the cistern is an original monument that attracts hundreds of tourists to Istanbul every year. The Bosporus Strait has always been a barrier to free traveling. Initially, the transport was provided by boats, but with time, attempts were made to build bridges. One of them is the Third Bosporus Bridge, also known as the Suleiman the Terrible Bridge. The construction was named after the Sultan, one of the builders of the Ottoman Empire power. The name is not exaggerated, as the bridge, opened in 2016, is almost 2,200 meters long. The Bridge of Suleiman the Terrible is the world's longest suspension bridge used for rail transport. The longest span is over 1,408 meters. Isn't Istanbul a beautiful city? If you like what we do, subscribe to our channel and like this video. That's not all. During a cruise along the Bosporus Strait, you can see a characteristic building. Ortakoy Mosque was not built on the model of the Church of the Holy Wisdom of God, but in the Baroque style. It was built in the mid-19th century to the order of the ruling Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. It was established as a house of prayer for the ruling dynasty. Its furnishing is truly royal. Extremely rich ornaments, crystal chandeliers and huge space make this place unique. It's a fun fact, worth mentioning, that some of the calligraphy decorating the temples was made by the Sultan himself. The Egyptian bazaar should also be mentioned among the characteristic markets of the city. Its name comes from the times when goods imported from Egypt were traded on it. Both years ago and now, this place is famous for the spice trade. You can also buy their dried fruit, jewelry, souvenirs, nuts, sweets, including the famous Turkish delight. There are 85 stalls at the market offering spices in various colors and forms. The profits from trade were used to build the new mosque. On the Bosporus, there is a unique islet where a characteristic tower was built. The Leander's Tower is one of the city's landmarks, together with the Galata Tower. It was built in the 5th century BC and initially served as a watchtower. It was modernized in the 12th century, and it has also been serving as a lighthouse since then. It currently houses a restaurant, a cafe and a point from which traffic is managed on the Bosporus. Istanbul, and earlier Constantinople, had been the capital of the empire for centuries. No wonder that it had been equipped with numerous fortifications and fortresses. After the Ottomans conquered the city, more were added, among them Rumeli Hisari fortress, which was built on the European shore of the Bosporus. Opposite, the Anatolian fortress is located, which was used to attack the capital of the empire. After the city was conquered in 1453, they both helped to control the traffic on the strait and cut off the Byzantine Empire from the access to the Black Sea. Many bridges have been built on the Bosporus so far. Some of them, like the Galata Bridge, have already been rebuilt and modernized. It connects the edges of the Golden Horn, a place where the strait narrows considerably. The first connection was made during the siege of the city by the Turks. It was not durable, and transport to the other side of the strait required the use of a boat. More bridges were built in the 19th century. They were extended and modernized after damage caused by fire. The current version of the Galata Bridge comes from the end of the 20th century. You can travel around Istanbul by bike, by car and also by public transport. In the first half of the 20th century, Istanbul had a thriving network of tram connections, but in 1966 it was closed in favor of private cars, buses and taxis. However, no one had foreseen the negative effects of this decision, such as huge traffic jams or an increase in the level of pollution caused by exhaust fumes and noise. Within a dozen of years, 2 former tram lines that operate to this day were reopened. One of them is the Red Tram. Restored vehicles move along the route, so a trip on such a tram can be a great idea for every retro railway enthusiast. Many of the described monuments can be seen from the perspective of a ship, many of which operate on the strait. You can take a guided tour or only the cruise. One thing is for sure, you won't be bored. If you're already planning your trip, you can find accommodation and tickets to attractions on the spot in the links under the video description. You can also order a card for cheap payments abroad the same way. Press the bell and subscribe to our channel if you want to receive notifications about new episodes. Have a nice trip.